Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Before we begin with the actual lesson, I would like to introduce the class a little bit better because we obviously had some miscommunication from some people. We have around 30 students or 30 people who signed up to take part in this, and we only received 3 responses. One response, the person typed up his translation of the text and sent it. The second response, a person made an audio recording of his translation and sent it. And both of them did a really good job. They only had a few minor mistakes. The third person sent a short paragraph or 2 of how they spend their day. I wake up at such and such time and I do this and then I do that and I work and I play with the kids and I take a nap and I work and I eat dinner and I go to sleep and I take a class like this. And it was in English. So the class is an Arabic reader and the PDF was sent out to everyone, stating that what we're going to do is we're going to send this PDF out. The students can read the PDF as much as they can. If they have any problems in understanding that PDF, that article, then by Thursday evening they should send them to me so that I could make this video answering any questions that they may have had. Now the fact that we only got 3 responses shows me that probably most people, this is too simple for them, or it was way too difficult for them, or they didn't understand what we were going to do, like the person who sent me an English article about how they spend their day. They obviously had no clue of what we were going to do. So inshallah, we're going to address that in the first few minutes here before we continue and start the explanation, inshallah. So what we're going to do, the purpose of this class, is to give the people a chance to read and study and look up words on their own to try to understand a small block of text. We have a class 6 days a week where we go over the Matun Talib al-Ilm, where we go over some grammar rules and we discuss and we read this book in person with students in the classroom. They can ask questions live as we go through the explanation. But not everyone can attend every day. And so we decided to make something for those who may have wanted more than that 1 hour a day, as well as for something for someone who can't make that hour a day. Go off course here for a minute and say someone who doesn't spend an hour a day trying to learn the Arabic language, they're not going to learn the Arabic language. Someone who, and it doesn't have to be in my class, I'm not saying that, I understand there are lots of other classes and better classes. So they may not need this and they have it. But if someone doesn't have a teacher and they don't have anything going, then every day we have a class. You may not be able to make it at that time frame. You have other obligations, that's fine. But alhamdulillah, all the classes now have been put up on YouTube. If you don't have a teacher, you don't have something that you're doing, you need to be watching a video a day. You need to be setting aside a block of time a day. Printing out the PDF, which is available online, that you can print it out and then write your notes in it and study these words, build your vocabulary, especially since what we're doing is the adhkar of the day and the night, the different adhkar, the different words of remembrance a person may need, and the different adab that a person has to have with his Lord, with his neighbors, and with himself. So these things are important that we must understand. So to go back to, that class may not be for everyone at the specific time. So we decided to have something for someone who wanted maybe a little more, that wasn't enough for them, as well as to help those people who didn't have so much time, maybe help them develop some skills and some more desire so that they can dedicate more time. So we chose this book, Al-Qira'at al-Rashida, which is an Arabic reader, short stories, 2-3 pages, a poem here and there, so that when you accomplish, instead of trying to cover a 50-page book, a 20-page book, a 100-page book, which may seem like too far and too big of a task, you can accomplish 2 pages at a time, 1 page, 3 pages, and you begin to feel good about your progress, and you put in more effort, bi'idhnillah. So this class is we send out a PDF on Saturday mornings Kuwait time, which is Friday nights in America. And you have all week to read that PDF, to use your dictionary, to use the apps on your phone, to ask the Arab that lives in the masjid if he could help you. And if you still are stuck on something, then you can send us a message and we'll answer that question in the class. Those who appear in the live classes are able to ask right then and there. Whereas with this class, I don't want to go back to Kayfa Aqdi Yomi, how I spend my day later on. We want to move on with the book. So therefore, you spend the whole week working with that text, and if you have any questions, then I will address them inside of this text, and then you won't go back to this text unless I make a mistake that needs to be addressed. Then I will fix it. But other than that, I'm not going to take questions after I send you this answer, after I send you this explanation of this text. I'm not going to answer questions about it because we're going to move on to the next text. So this is why we wanted the people to ask whatever questions they had. But maybe this is the first time they had a class like this. Maybe my instructions were not clear. So, inshallah, from here on out, Saturdays we send out a text. You spend the week trying to figure it out. Whatever you don't have by Wednesday or Thursday, send them as a question. I will prepare them inside the explanation that I have on Jumu'ah that I record. I will put it up on YouTube, and from there I will send it to you. You can read it or listen to it at your own leisure time. But Saturday morning I'm going to send out the second text or the third text or the next text. And then you have those 5 or 6 days to try to figure it out, then ask questions. So hopefully from here on out, it's clear how the class will work, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. With that, we begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Kayfa Aqdi Yomi. How I spend my day, or how do I spend my day. This is not a translation class, as I reiterate in all of our other classes. When I give you a rough translation of this sentence, and you say, but in English, we don't start out sentences with and so and therefore, those are not words that you can go and clean up the translation on your own. The purpose is to understand how and the ways of translating. Do you translate exactly the way the person wrote it, or do you translate by meaning, or do you combine between meaning and word structure? And there are many different ways, maybe 10 different ways to do translations. The one you choose may not be the one I choose or someone else chooses. The purpose, though, is for us to understand the text. As for the minute details, how I spend my day, how do I spend my day, should I put a question mark here or not, that's completely up to you, as long as you understand the text. So kayfa. This word kayfa, this first word, we're familiar with it just from asking people kayfa haluka. How are you? Kayfa haluka. What's your condition? How is your condition? How are you? Right? We also may be familiar with it from the statement of Imam Malik when he was asked about how Allah rises above his throne. He said, when he was asked about the istiwa of Ar-Rahman, how does Allah rise above his throne? He said, He said, al-istiwa ma'loom. The rising is known. Wal-kayf majhul. And the how of that is unknown. Right? Wal-imanu bihi wajib wa su'al anha bid'ah. And believing it is obligatory and asking about it is innovation. But the point here is the word kayf. Right? When we talk about Allah's names and attributes, we do so bila kayf, without asking how. Bila kayf, without asking how. So we might be familiar with this word from Aqidah classes, as well as just the kayfa haluka that we have in our durus, in our everyday conversations. I'm sorry. The next word, Aqdi, from qada yaqdi, to spend. Qada yaqdi. Now this class is going to require us to become familiar with how we go from yaqdi to aqdi. Yaqdi is he spends. Aqdi is I spend. Right? Taqdi, you spend. We have to become familiar with this. This is not the class to go through all the verb charts, but basically this aqdi is for ana, I, how I do it. And this whole reading that we have in front of us is spoken from the first person. So it's going to be aqdi, anamu, aqumu, astayqidu. It's going to all be from I. So kayfa aqdi yomi, from qada yaqdi, to spend. You could say, for instance, we said qada, he spent. So how do I say I spent? Qadaytu. Qadaytu, I spent. So qadaytu ams, I spent yesterday. Qadaytu yomi, I spent my day. Qadaytu asayf, I spent the summer. Kayfa aqdi yomi, we all know the word yom, meaning day, right? Yomi with the ya at the end, the ya nisbiya meaning my, right? How do I spend my day, or how I spend my day? So he says, anamu mubakkiran. Anamu from nama, nama yanamu. Nama yanamu, to sleep. Right? We all know the word la ta'khudhu sanatun wala nawm, sleep, right? Nawm, sleep. So anamu, just like we had yaqdi became aqdi, yanamu becomes anamu, I sleep. Anamu mubakkiran, from ba yabkuru, bakara yabkuru, meaning to set out early. To set out early. Not necessarily early in the morning, but to set out early. So if we're going to leave at night, and I set out early, I might still leave at night, but I set out earlier than everyone else. Right? So, bakara yabkuru. And we know the word bukra, like we remember Allah, bukratan wa asila, in the mornings and the evenings. Bukra. Bukratan wa asila, in the mornings and in the evening. Morningly in the evening. We remember Allah like that. So, anamu mubakkiran, I go to sleep early. Fil layl. I go to sleep early at night. Fil layl. Fi is a harf jar, a preposition which causes the word or the noun to come after it to be majroor, here with a kasra. Layl is the opposite of nahar. Nahar. This is night, this is day. It could also be the opposite of sabah, at night, in the morning. But here is really the opposite of nahar, the daytime. Right? The plural of layl is layali. Layali. Layl, layali. Right? So, anamu mubakkaran fil layl. I go to sleep early at night. Wa aqumu mubakkiran fil sabah. Aqumu from qama yaqumu. Yaqumu. Qama yaqumu. To stand up or to get up. More here, wake up, right? But more not really get up. Not really wake up, but more so get up. I stand up, I get up. Aqumu mubakkiran fi sabah. And I stand up or I get up early fi sabah. Sabah is the morning. Sabah is the morning, which is the opposite of, we'll say, masa. Like we have the adhkar of the sabah and the masa, the morning and the evening. So al-layl is the opposite of nahar, and sabah is the opposite of masa, whereas the yom is the 24-hour period. Right? But it could also be the opposite of layl, whereas we have, when we wipe over our socks, we have thalathatu ayyam wa layaliha, 3 days and their nights. So yom here is my 24-hour period, but it could also be the opposite of nahar. So anamu mubakkiran fil layli wa aqumu mubakkiran fil sabah. I go to sleep early at night and I wake up early in the morning. Astayqidu al ismillahi wa dhikrihi. Astayqidu, if you're to look up this word, you're going to look it up. Yaqida. That's how you look it up. Ya, qaf, that. Yaqida, yayqadu. Yayqadu. That's the present tense. However, this is a different form, form 10. Right? Which is astayqidu, meaning here to wake up. Wake up. Astayqidu. Ala. Ala is a harf jar, just like fi, making the word after it majroor. Al ismillah, upon the name of Allah. Here we have, anytime we can say something of something, or somebody's, with apostrophe s, something, then this is considered idafa, or possessive construction. Mudaf, mudaf ilayh. Right? The messenger of Allah, Allah's messenger, same as Muhammad's book or the book of Muhammad. Whenever we have this possessive, it's going to be an idafa, mudaf ilayh. And the mudaf ilayhi, the second one is always going to be majroor. Ism is majroor after ala. Ismullahi, Allahi, the lafz al-jalada, the noble name here is majroor because it is mudaf ilayhi. Right? It's in a possessive form. The name of Allah, or Allah's name. I wake up with Allah's name, on Allah's name. Meaning, I say, Alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. I make those du'as that you say when you wake up, with the name of Allah, wa dhikrihi. Wa is a harf atf, meaning a connecting word, right? A word that just connects it to the previous word or phrase. So dhikr here is with a kasra, it's majroor after ala because it's connected due to the wa. So astayqidu ala ismillahi wa ala dhikrihi, and upon his remembrance. But we're not going to say ala again because the wa takes the need of that away from us. Dhikr from dhakara yadhkuru. Dhakara yadhkuru. Dhakara yadhkuru, to remember. ذكر يذكر. Who here or he because of the kasra, making it easier to say. We don't say dhikri who. That's hard to say. So we should say dhikri he. It goes back to Allah. Right? It's referring to Allah and upon His remembrance. So astayqidu ala ismillahi wa dhikrihi. I wake up upon the name of Allah and His remembrance. Asta'iddu. If you look this up, you look up Ain Dal. Right? But it's form 10. Here it means to get ready, to prepare. Asta'iddu. I prepare lis-salah, for salah. Li here has the same function as ala and fi. It's a harf al-jar. It's a preposition which makes the word after it majroor. I prepare for, like we give fi sabilillah, for Allah, we give for Allah, right? Li means for. So, lis-salah. Asta'iddu lis-salah. Salat comes from Salah. Yusalli. Meaning to pray. Right? Yusalli. Salah yusalli. Meaning to pray. So I wake up for Salah, and the plural of Salah is salawat. Salawat. That's the plural. We say we pray, we have 5 prayers in a day, or we have 5 salats in a day. You can now broaden your vocabulary and say we have 5 salawat. You don't have to put an S on the end of the Arabic word, salats. But we have 5 salawat. Asta'iddu lis-salati. Thumma. Thumma means then. It benefits us order. You do this and then this. Versus wa doesn't benefit us order. So if I say Muhammad, and I'm just going to write an M, and Hassan came. Muhammad and Hassan came. It doesn't mean Muhammad came and then Hassan. It could mean they came together, one came before the other. It doesn't matter who came first. Whereas if I say Muhammad thumma, just make it easy, thumma Hassan, that means Muhammad and then Hassan came. So thumma benefits us order. Thumma adhabu. After he prepares for salah, thumma, then adhabu, I go, from dhahaba yadhabu, adhabu ma'a. Ma'a it means with, and it makes the noun coming after it majroor. But here we don't see that because of the ya of nisba, right? Which we'll get into in a second. Like we had kitabi or yomi, right? This is the same ya. So ma means with. I'm sure we're familiar with that probably. Walidi. Walidi means my father. Walid means father. It could mean parent. And some of the hadith which talk about the dua of the walid, it doesn't necessarily mean the walid. It could be the walida. It could be the mother as well. Walid means parent. But here it means father. Right? Father. Walidi, my father. There's a difference between walid, which is boy, and walid with the alif. And they're hard for the beginner student to differentiate if they haven't learned properly, because we're not able to tell the difference between walid and walid. They sound so close, walid and walid. Al-walid call. Did I say walid or walid right there? Right? It's hard to hear. But walid with the alif is the father. ثُمَّ أَذْهَبُ مَعَ وَالِدِي. Then I go with my father إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. Ila is just like ala and fi and li. They're prepositions or harf al-jar which makes the word follow it majroor. So adhab ma'a walidi ila, to al-masjid, the masjid. Masjid from sajada yasjudu. Sajada yasjudu. Meaning to prostrate. So the masjid is a place of prostration. It's not a place of playing around and doing business and buying and selling. Right? It's not a place of announcing things that are lost, right, or found. It's a place for the remembrance of Allah, for sajda, and what's related to that. Al-Masjid. So, give me a second while I scroll down here. ثم أذهب مع والدي إلى المسجد. When I go with my father to the masjid. Well, masjid, and the masjid min bayti. Qariba yaqrubu, to be close. Qaribun, the masjid is close, the opposite of ba'id. The opposite would be ba'id. Ba'id, which is far, right? From ba'da ya'budu, ba'd, to be far, right? This one is qarib, close, min bayti, to my house. Min bayti. Min is a harful jar, just like min, wa illa, wa ala, wa fi, wa li. Min is a harful jar, just like those. Makes the word after it majroor, except, apologize for that pop-up, except the kasra, just like we didn't see it here in walidi because of the ya of the nisba, my house. The word house comes from bata yabitu, and it means to spend the night. It doesn't mean to sleep, but it means to spend the night. Allah says in the end of Surah Al-Furqan, talking about those slaves of Ar-Rahman, He says, give me 1 second. He says about them, وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا, and those who spend the night in worship. He uses the word yabituna, they spend the night. This is the word bait, meaning to spend the night. It doesn't mean to sleep, but it means to spend the night. So wherever you spend the night, that's your bait, right? That's your bait, that's your house, right? وَالْمَسْجِدُ قَرِيبٌ مِنْ بَيْتِي, and the masjid is close to my house. Bait is the singular of buyut, houses. Buyut, right? فَأَتَوَضَّعُ, fa is like thumma. It benefits us. Order. Fa, what comes after it is order. Right? So fa, kind of like thumma. Then I, atawadda'u. Wudu comes from the word, I wrote that funny, sorry. Wudu, like this, the hamza on top of the waw. Right? Here it's a form 5 verb. Tawadda'a, yatawadda'u. Here, atawadda'u. I make wudu. Tawaddaytu, I made wudu. Tawaddaytu, I made wudu. Tawadda'u, atawadda'u, I am making wudu. Thumma afa atawadda'u. So I make wudu. Wa usalli, and I pray. Ma'al jama'a. From Jim, Mim, Ain, right? Jama'at is the plural. I pray with the congregation. I pray with congregation. فَأَتَوَضَّأُ وَأُصَلِّي مَعَ الْجَمَاعَةِ. So I pray, I make wudu, and I pray with the jama'ah. وَأَرْجِعُ. Arji'u from raja'a, yarji'u, raja'a, yarji'u, yarji'u, to return. وَأَرْجِعُ, I return, إِلَى الْبَيْتِ, to the house. Or you could say here, if you wanted, home. Where you going? I'm going إلى البيت. I'm going home. I'm going to the house. I'm going home. Right? أرجع إلى البيت, I return to the house, or I return home. وأتلو from تلو. تلو. Right? تلو يتلو. يتلو. To recite. We're probably familiar with the word tilawa. Tilawatul Quran. Tilawa. Right? Recitation. ثم أتلو شيئا, then I read or recite something. Shay is something, or it's a thing. Shay is a thing because it doesn't have alif lam. If I put ash-shay, it becomes the thing. So a thing and something, and some, they're the same thing basically. So I recite something, and here we have it mansoob because it's the object of our recitation. I recite something. Min al-Qur'an al-Kareem, from the noble Quran. Karama yakrumu, karima yakrumu, or karuma yakrumu. I recite something. Karuma, karuma. That's a meme, I'm sorry. Karuma yakrumu. Meaning to be noble, right? To be honorable, right? From the noble or the honorable Quran. Thumma, as we said, and then it benefits us order. Akhruju. Akhruju from kharaja yakhruju, right? Ila al-bustan. Bustan is the word for garden. Al-bustan, you will look it up. Ba, sin, ta, noon. You look it up. Ba, sin, ta, noon. It's all together. It doesn't mean two because of that alif noon there. No, it's part of the word. Bustan means garden. The plural is basatin. Basatin. And these words, you have Nawawi, rahimahullah, he has a book called Bustan al-Arifin, and you'll find the gardens of those who know and stuff like that. So it's a word, like it means hadiqa. Bustan is another word for hadiqa, which means yard or garden, as well as riyad, right? Or roda, right? Roda. And you have the word Riyad al-Salihin, gardens, right? Which would be like Basatin al-Salihin, right? The gardens of the righteous. Riyad, Roda, right? ثم أخرج إلى البستان. Then I go out to the garden, to the yard, right? وأجري, from jara, jara, yajri, yajri. Then I go outside and I run. Jara yajri. Jara yajri. And I run. This word it's similar to the English word, which in a lot of times Arabic has a different word for different contexts. You know, maybe for instance, I'm saying if we say the word, something that might be used for two different things in English, they would have two different words in Arabic. But here, jara for running, A person can run, as we find here, أجري, I run. Or the water can be running or flowing. You use it the same way for running and flowing like water, as well as running around a track or around the bustan. ثم أخرج إلى البستان وأجري ثم أرجع إلى البيت, and then I return إلى البيت, to the house. You could say home here, but you're already at home, so it's probably better to say to the house. فأشرب اللبن. أشرب from شرب. 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 يشرب. يشرب. And drink leban. Leban is milk, and we can see that it's mansoob with a fatah, just like shay'an was mansoob with a fatah. Atlu shay'an, I recite something. Ashrabu labna, I drink, right? Leban can also be yogurt, like the drink, right? So yogurt, or I drink milk with leaven, and leaven would be yogurt. But now today, and leaven would be milk, and halib would be yogurt. And I believe it's the opposite now in the common terms. وأستعد, and I get ready. We already had this for أستعد للصلاة. أستعد, and I prepare. للذهاب, for going. Dhahab is the masdar. Of Saif, of the, from Safa, meaning the summertime. Safa. If it's the days of summer, then I eat breakfast. If it was the days, kanat here. If it was the days, if it was, kanat puts it in the past. Right? Kanat, I proved the wrong. Kanat. If it was the days of summer. If it was the days of summer. If it is the days of summer, basically, I eat breakfast. وَتَغَدَّى. وَتَغَدَّى. From تَغَدَّى. You will look it up, right? That's how you will look it up. But yet, تَغَدَّى means تَغَدَّى يَتَغَدُّ. يتغدى آسف يتغدى يتغدى. I wrote that real bad. Give me 1 second. تغدى يتغدى تغدى past tense. تغدى. I wrote it with a bond too. That's how horrible I am. Give me 1 second. تغدى past tense. تغدى يتغدى يتغدى present tense. أتغدى I take lunch. I take lunch إذا كانت أيام الشتاء. أيام الشتاء is the winter. رحلة شتاء والصيف from Surah Al-Fil. The trips of the winter and the summer. Shita is the winter. So in other words, he says here, and this could be a beneficial thing, you know, they teach us inside of these readers, they teach us manners besides teaching us to read. They teach us manners on a subtle tip. So they're telling us to get up and make salat, go to bed early, you'll wake up early. These are all etiquettes that they're teaching us, right? Get up and run, do some exercise in the morning time. These are etiquettes that we're being out here without necessarily knowing. Recite Quran in the morning after Fajr, for verily the Quran of Fajr is witnessed. All of these are etiquettes that are being tucked into this reader here for us to try to follow. So here he says, أفطروا إذا كانت أيام الصيف وأتغدى إذا كانت أيام الشتاء. I eat breakfast if it's the summertime, the daytime if it's the summer days. وأتغدى إذا كانت أيام الشتاء. And I eat lunch if it's the days of winter. So he's saying you don't need it. If it's the days are short, you don't need 3 meals. If the days are long, yeah, you'll need breakfast, lunch, dinner. The day is long. But if the day is short, you don't need 3 meals. You don't have to eat, you know, like that, you know. وأصلوا. أصلوا from wasala. Wasala yasilu, meaning to arrive. To arrive. وأصلوا إلى المدرسة في الميعاد. Mi'ad comes from wa'ada, which is to promise. Right? Mi'ad here, it's really a phrase. Not so much mi'ad. Fi'ad means an appointed time. Mi'ad means an appointed or a fixed time. Fil mi'ad means I arrive on time. Meaning I arrive at the madrasa on time or punctually, right? I arrive fil mi'ad meaning I don't arrive mutaakhiran, I don't arrive late, right? And I don't arrive mubakkiran, I don't arrive early. I arrive fil mi'ad, I arrive on time. وأمكث في المدرسة. أمكث from مكث يمكث. مكث يمكث, meaning to stay, right? To stay. يمكث, meaning to stay. I stay, right? I stay في المدرسة 6 ساعات. 6 hours. 6 ساعات. We say sit without the ta marbuta. Without the ta marbuta, because sa'at is feminine. If the word we were talking about here was masculine, for instance, kutub, sittatu kutub, because kitab is masculine, right? Kitab is masculine, so I would say sittatu kutub. But here, it's sa'at, it's feminine, the plural of sa'a, hour. I apologize, I had a brief internet go out. But since sa is feminine, then we cut off the ta marbuta because the number has to be opposite of the ma'dud, the thing which is being numbered, right? The thing which is being counted, right? So we say sitta sa'at. Amkuthu fil madrasati sitta sa'at. I stay in the school 6 hours. I stay in the school 6 hours. Wa asma'u, from samiya yasma'u. I listen. Ad-durus. I listen to what? The durus. Therefore it's mansub. With a fatha. Maf'ulun bihi, the object of the verb. Asma'u durusa bin nashat. Bi is with, like in Bismillah, with the name of Allah. Bi, and then nashat comes from nashata. 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 Let me see. Yanshatu. 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 Meaning to have energy, to be lively. Asma'u durus bin nashat, with energy. I listen with nashat, I listen with energy. Wa raghba. Raghba comes from raghaba, meaning with desire. Right? We have the book At-Targhib wa Tarhib. Targhib wa Tarhib, meaning to make somebody want something, like to desire it, and tarhib, to make someone scared of it, to make them, to warn them from it. So targhib wa tarhib is a hadith book, which hadith are related to those things which want you to do things and want you to stay away from things, want you to desire things and want you to fear things. So raghba here means to desire. Wa asma'u durusa bin nashatin wa raghba. So I listen to the lessons with energy and desire. Yeah, I'm awake in the class. I'm not sleeping. Wa ajlisu, from jalasa yajlisu, to sit. And I sit bi adabin wa sakina. I sit with etiquettes and tranquility. From adaba ya'dubu. Adaba ya'dub, adaba ya'dubu, ya'dubu, to be mannered. Wa sakina, from sakana yaskunu, right? Sakana yaskunu, this should be easy enough, I don't have to write it. Sakina, tranquility. Wa asma ad-durus bin nashat wa raghba, I listen to the lesson with energy and desire. وَأَجْلِسُ بِأَدَبٍ وَالسَّكِينَةٍ, and I sit with etiquettes and or with manners and tranquility. Even though I'm eager, even though I'm alive, I'm energetic, I'm not jumping around, throwing papers, listening, talking in class, spinning, no, I'm listening quietly with manners, but I'm eager to learn. حتى, until. إذا انتهى الوقت, either when. انتهى, from naha, meaning to be the end. انتهى ينتهي, to be the end. انتهى الوقت, the time, until the time ends. وضرب الجرس. وضرب الجرس. Duriba here is not daraba. Daraba means to hit. In English, we would call this active case. In Arabic, we say ma'loom, known. Whereas in duriba, as we have here, duriba, in English, we would say passive. Right? Passive. In Arabic, we would say majhul. For some reason, one second. Majhul. Unknown, because the doer of the verb is unknown here. Where daraba, he hit. He hit. We know who hit. We don't know who he hit, but he hit. Whereas in duriba, we know what was hit, but we don't know who did it. So duriba al-jaras, until the bell is rang. So we know what was rang, the bell, but we don't know who rang it. Kharajtu, حتى إذا انتهى الوقت وضرب الجرس, until the time ended and the bell rang. Jaras, right? Jaras is the bell, right? Jaras is the bell. Kharajtu, I leave out or I left out, but here it means I leave out min al-madrasati, from the school, wa raja'tu ila al-bayt, and I return to the house. That's the first half. Then he says, inshallah, most of the words are repeated. وَلَا أَقْرَأُ, from قَرَأَ يَقْرَأُ, قَرَأَ يَقْرَأُ, قَرَأَ يَقْرَأُ, meaning to read. And I don't read بعد صلاة العصر, after صلاة العصر. بعد is like ma and fi and ila, it makes the word after it majroor. بعد صلاة العصر, although it's called a dharf, not a harf jar, it's called a dharf, although it's a harf jar too. بعد صلاة العصر, after صلاة العصر. After صلاة العصر, I do not read إلى المغرب, until maghrib. إلى here means until, and this is important. If we read Ajurumiyya, we'll find in the very beginning that it tells us that that there are three types of speech: the ism, the fi'l, harfu ja'a limana. Ja'a limana is important for us here, meaning the harf, this is the ism, that's a noun. This is a fi'l, that's a verb. The harf is a particle, but the thing we're focusing on here is ja'a limana. It comes with its meaning, meaning it doesn't have a meaning until it's placed in a sentence. Now we can say min means from, and ila means to, and ala means on, but we'll find that there are times when they mean something different than that. Like when we say Allah is fi sama, we don't mean he's in the sky. Fi here means ala, it means above or on, above. So it doesn't mean on, like on top of the refrigerator, it means above. So the huruf al-jar, these huruf, these particles get their meaning from their context, and they don't have one specific meaning that you're going to translate it like every single time. So here it means ila, it means hatta, basically. It means ila al-maghrib. La aqra'u ba'da salat al-asr ila al-maghrib. I don't read after salat al-asr until maghrib. Wa fi ba'd al-ayyam. Ba'd, we want to make sure we say this different than ba'd. Ba'd means after. Ba'd with a dad means some. وفي بعض الأيام, and in some of the days, أمكث, there's our word again, I stay في البيت, in the house, or I stay at home. You can say in the house or at home, which fi would be at here, not in. But they're both the same. Like I said, it's not a translation class. You can do it the way you like. وَفِي بَعْدِ الْأَيَّامِ, and some days, we might not even translate fi. And some days, وَفِي بَعْدِ الْأَيَّامِ, and in some days, or during some days, أَذْهَبُ, I go, إِلَى السُّوق, to the marketplace. وَأَشْتَرِي حَوَائِجُ الْبَيْتِ, and I buy some necessities of the house. Suq, right? Suq here. If you're going to look it up, you're going to look it up Sin, Waw, Qaf. But it's not that word. Suq means to drive. Saqa yasuqu. Saqa yasuqu means to drive. So here, the word we're going to have here is tasawwaqa, yatasawwaqu, tasawwaqa, 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 yatasawwaqu. يتسوق. Meaning, so this is this. It's a wow. يتسوق. Meaning to shop. Right? To shop. So you could shorten this sentence and say, وفي بعض الأيام أتسوق. I shop. Right? التسوق. But here he gives a little more detail. He says, وفي بعض الأيام أذهب إلى السوق. I go to the marketplace. وأشتري, and I buy, which comes from, if you look it up, Shin, Ra, Wow. That's how you would find it. But the verb is a form 8 verb from ashtara, right? Ashtara, yashtari, right? Yashtari. Ashtara, yashtari, meaning to buy, right? Wa ashtari hawa'ij al-bayt. Hawa'ij is the plural of haja. We all know this word from khutbat al-haja, the sermon of need. Coming from the root word hawaja. That's where you would look it up, hawaja, right? But ha, wow, jeen, but it's going to be haja, hawaij. Things that you need, necessities, right? وفي بعض الأيام, and some other days, and in some days, أخرج, I go out, مع, with, أبي, with my father, أبي, أب, but with the ya of nisbah here, أبي, my father, أو, أخي, or, أو is or, أخي, my brother, إلى بعض الأقارب, to some aqarib, from qareeb. Here, qareeb doesn't mean close, although it's related to that. It means relative. Aqarib is relatives. Some of those people who are close to me. بعض الأقارب. أذهب إلى بعض الأقارب. I go to some relatives. Oh, or ألعب, I play, from لعب, لعب, يلعب, لعب, يلعب, يلعب. I play مع إخوتي. إخوة, إخوة is the plural of أخ. We have أب, father, أبا. That's the plural, أبا. We have أخ, we have إخوة. Right? My brothers. Oh, ألعب مع إخوتي. Again, the ya of a nisbah for my brothers. وأصدقائي, which is the plural of صديق, my friend. صديق, أصدقائي, my friends. Oh, ألعب مع إخوتي وأصدقائي. Or I play with my brothers and my friends. وأتعشى, أتعشى, تعشى, تعشى, يتعشى, يتعشى means to eat dinner. That's why we eat it at night around al-Isha time. Right? The same thing for Isha, at night time. At-ta'asha, at dinner. And I eat dinner ma walidi, with my father, wa ikhwati, and my brothers, wa ahfadhu, from hafidha yahfadhu, hafidha, hafidha yahfadhu, yahfadhu, to memorize. And I memorize durusi, from dars. We had that earlier. Durus, dars, durusi, my lessons. I memorize my lessons. Wa utali'u, from tala'a yutali'u, tala'a yutali'u. This word can mean two different, kind of like opposite things. Tala'a yutali'u could mean to read in extreme detail, word could mean to browse through something, to peruse it, to just go through it, not to read it in extreme detail. So you're going to get its meaning from the context. You're going to get its meaning from the context. Here, utali'u, and Allah knows best, it means I browse through, I go through it. Because he's not going to actually be studying it like he ahfadu, or yahfadu, like he memorizes his durus. He's going to utali'u lil ghad. Lil ghad. Ghad is tomorrow, which was related to, don't worry about that. Ghad is tomorrow. Ghadin, right, is tomorrow. Utali'u, and I go over, I read, but I read here, like we said, reading could be a detailed reading, or it could be a very type of rushed reading. Allah knows best here, it's kind of a rushed reading, as we'll see in the sentence. وَأُطَالِعُ لِلْغَدْ, and I read for tomorrow. وَاسْتَعِدُّ لِلدَّرْسِ, and I prepare. أَسْتَعِدُّ, we've had this a number of times. لِلدَّرْسِ, and I prepare for the lesson. So basically, he just goes over his book for tomorrow. He just goes over his book for tomorrow. He skims through it because he already knows it. He's already studied it. He's just reading over it. وَأَكْتُبُ, from كَتَبَ يَكْتُبُ, and I write. مَا يَأْمُرُ بِهِ الْمُعَلَّمُ, مَا يَأْمُرُ, from أَمَرَ يَأْمُرُ, to command or to order. أَمَرَ يَأْمُرُ, I'm not writing my hamzas just to be quick. يَأْمُرُ, to command or to order. مَا يَأْمُرُ وَأَكْتُبُ, and I write. مَا يَأْمُرُ بِهِ, what was commanded, or the muallim, what the teacher, the muallim, the teacher, commanded us or ordered us with it, meaning to write. So I write what our teacher commanded us to write, or I write what our teacher commanded us to do so. وَأُصَلِّي الْإِشَاء, and I pray Isha. وَأَقْرَأُ قَلِيلًا, and I read a little bit from قَلَّ يَقِلُّ. قَلَّ يَقِلُّ, meaning to be little. To be little. يَقِلُّ, to do little. So قَلِيلًا is I read a little bit. ثُمَّ أَنَامُ, and then I sleep, which is our very first word. عَلَى اسْمِ اللَّهِ وَذِكْرِهِ, upon the name of Allah and His remembrance. Tilka adati. Tilka is that. It's the feminine form of dhalika. Dhalika. Dhalika is that. Tilka is for feminine because the word after it is a feminine word. Ada. Ada is a habit or a custom. Adat is habits or customs. Comes from the word awda. Awada, meaning awada ya'udu, meaning to return, because you keep going back and returning to that same thing. Every night he returns to going to bed early. Every morning he returns to waking up, like this. So ada is a custom or a habit, similar to the word urf, the customs or habits. These are used interchangeably in fiqh, urf and ada. Right? We don't want our ibadah, our worship, to be an ada, to be a custom or a habit. We don't want it to just be a habit. We want it to be worship. We want to be thinking about it. Right? Something that ada is, you do it automatically. It's a habit or a custom. Something you return to, like the word Eid, because it comes back at the same time every year. Tilka adati, that is my habit, or that is my custom, that is my program or my schedule. Right? Kulla yawmin. Kulla is every. And the word that comes after kullu is going to be majroor. It's always going to be like mudaf ilayh. Kulla yawmin. Every day. So we see the majroor there. La ukhalifuha. I don't oppose it. I don't do anything different from it. From khalafa, yukhalifu. Yukhalifu. To do khalafa yukhalifu. To do something different. Khilaf. To oppose it. I don't do anything different than it. Ha, referring back to ada. It's feminine. La ukhalifuha. I don't do anything different than my habit, than my custom, than my schedule or program. وَأَقُومُ مُبَكِّرًا. And I wake up or I get up early. يَوْمَ الْأُطْلَى. Utla comes from atala, meaning to be without work or to stop. It could be like atalat as-sayyara. The car broke down. It stopped working, right? Yawm al-utla here means the day when you don't have anything to do. Your free day, a holiday, vacation day, could be weekends, could be holidays, could be summer. Yawm al-utla. Al-utla could be utla nihayat al-usbu', the utla at the end of the week, or it could be utla fi nihayat al-fasl, the utla at the break at the end of the semester, or so forth, right? Utla is the day off, right? وَأَقُومُ مُبَكِّرًا يَوْمَ الْأُطْلَى أَيْضًا. And I wake up on the day of the utla, the day of the break, the day of not having any work or school. أيضًا. From ada يعد. Ada يعد. Meaning, here أيضًا means also, right? This also means to return. Adda ya'addu means to return. So when you do it again, you also do it again. You also did it. Also is like again, return. So aydan. وَأَقُومُ مُبَكِّرًا يَوْمَ الْأُطْلَى أَيْضًا. And I wake up early on the days off also. وَأُصَلِّي مَعَ الْجَمَاعَةِ. And I pray with the congregation. وَأَتْلُو الْقُرْآنِ. And I recite the Quran. Here Quran is mansoob. If we were to go up, we would see that it wasn't mansoob top, it was majroor, because it was min al-Quran. Min al-Quran, it was after harf al-jar, so it was majroor. It was after a preposition, so it was majroor. Whereas here, we say Quran because this is what you're reciting. Up top we had shay'an. Shay'an was mansoob. Shay'an. Right? Shay'an. Here, Quran. وَأَتْلُو Quran. And I recite the Quran. وَأَقْضِي الْيَوْمِ. And I spend the day. فِي مُطَالَعَةِ كِتَاب. This has got to do with the tala'a yutali'u that we had above. Right? Mutala'a. Is he reading the book with great detail, or is he just skimming through the books? Well, mutala'at al-kitab, to me here, a lot of best, it sounds like he just goes through some books, reads a magazine, he's not really studying, he's just reading for fun. Mutala'at al-kitab, mutala'ati kitabin, and I go over, and I spend my day reading a book, right, covering or going through a book. Wa muhadathatin, from hadatha yuhadithu, hadatha yuhadithu, hadatha yuhadithu, meaning to talk, to conversate. وَمُحَادَثَةٍ مَعَ أَبِي, with my father, وَأُمِّي, and my mother. Is mother, and the plural of is ummuhat, and we already said ummuhat. We already said that the plural of ab is aba. وَإِخْوَتِي, and my brothers. وَمُحَادَثَةٍ مَعَ أَبِي وَأُمِّي وَإِخْوَتِي, and I talk with my father and my mother and my brothers, right? وفي زيارة قريب. وفي زيارة. زيارة is from زارة. يزور. زارة. يزور, meaning to visit. Right? Wazara, ziyara here is ziyarati qareeb, and visiting a relative, and in visiting a relative. Oh, iyadati maridan. Iyada is from awada, like we said earlier, to return. But here, iyada has the meaning of ziyara, meaning visiting the sick, the marid, visiting the sick person, right? Visiting someone who knows is sick from school or something. Right, he visits them, a family member, or somebody knows is sick. Iyada and ziyara, they're interchangeable, right? But when you talk about visiting the sick, like in the hadith, the rights of the Muslims, they're always going to use this word iyada. And the ziyara is going to be used for a healthy person, while iyada is used for a sick person, although they're roughly interchangeably, but they're used differently, right? وَأَمْكُثُ أَحْيَانٍ, and I stay, مَكَثَ يَمْكُثُ, and I stay أَحْيَانٍ, which is from heen, meaning time, at the time of. Hina, ahyan is at times. Ahyanan with the mansoob, that means sometimes. And amkuthu ahyanan, and sometimes I stay fil bayt, at home or in the house. Wa akhruju ahyanan, and I go out sometimes. Ilal kharij, kharij meaning outside. And I go outside sometimes. Sometimes I stay at home. Sometimes I go outside the home. Not outside into the bustan, but outside the home, meaning at the sawwaq, wa zur al-aqarib, wa al-abna astiqai, like this. I shop and I visit the sick people. Wa ashtari hawaj al-bayt, I buy the things for the house, like this. The kharij means like outside the house, not outside the door, but outside the property. Right? It could mean both, but here it means outside of his property. And Allah knows best. The only thing that I found in them two brothers who sent the translations, sometimes they said, for instance, وَاسْتَعِدُّوا لِلذَّهَابِ إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ, they said, and I prepared to go to the school. Because they see the alif lam, they see this. But alif lam has many different functions. Some of them, it can mean the, like the ta'rif, meaning to determine a specific thing, right? The house versus a house, right? Or the madrasa versus a madrasa. But it also has the function of doing the jins. In Arabic, the jins, which is the type of something. So you wouldn't have to put the in those sentences. Like I said, it's a small issue. If you put in and I prepare for going to the school, it wouldn't be a problem. But to school, because you don't always have to translate alif lam as the, and it has lots of different, alif lam has many different reasons that it's there. You can read about it in Abdurrahman al-Qasim's explanation of Ajrumiyah, which you probably can't do at this point, but you can find it. It talks about it in there and in other places. But that's the only real problem I found from the brothers. I hope this is clear. We know what to do from here on out. I know it was a long video, but I hope it was beneficial for you as it was for me, because I'm learning with you, brothers and sisters. So, like I said, unless I said anything wrong, I'm not going to come back to this class. It was already long enough. And hopefully I've clarified every single word pretty well. If there's something maybe here or there, like I said, maybe, but I really don't want to revisit it. I want to move on to the next one, and I hope you enjoy. And if you have any criticisms of the class or something like that, then you're always welcome. I'm not a scholar, a great Arab teacher or anything, so or I'm not a great teacher, much less an Arabic teacher. So any criticisms or suggestions, or then I'm willing to listen, and hopefully we can just benefit this and make it better for everyone. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.